There's an incredible amount of design potential in simply modifying the human form. All Tomorrows is a book I absolutely adore that has some incredibly wild designs, all of which derive from humans. Now, of course, I can't go that crazy yet with designs in my world, but it did inspire me to think that I can surely push different human races' designs a lot harder, making them a lot more distinct and unique. And conveniently enough, my magic system gives me the perfect excuse to be able to twist the human form. One such race we're designing today are the Hatchfolk. So let's talk about their anatomy and process of designing them first, then get into their place in the world. In case you didn't know yet, the dwarf is going to be available again June 1st. It'll be pre-orders this time for 2 weeks, which I'll be streaming for every day. We got stretch goals too, I'm still working on them. I will give you details later in a future video. Take care! First of all, these are humans, or I guess far enough from humans that you could consider them a subspecies, but still originally humans. Well, how did they turn out like this? Did the gods just... No. It's all because of metamorphosis. I thought metamorphosis only affected mages. Well, it affects people that have mana in their system. That mana gets used up by thoughts and changes their body. Normally, a human can't take in mana without an input, but you can ingest it. The Hatchfolk's diet is comprised of things within the trenches, the rodents, the water, the red root, all of which is tainted with mana. So couldn't you just inject mana into people and have their bodies change in weird, wacky, and perhaps useful ways? Well, no. I heard from a Varusian refugee at the Bleeding Belfries that he and a lot of other soldiers were selected to be test subjects in some experiment. It involved injecting non-mages with different amounts of mana to hopefully induce positive metamorphosis. Honestly, I was scared. This huge mage stabbed us with a syringe of some sort, but it didn't feel like they injected anything. All the while, the other nurses had us reading out phrases over and over again, told us to calm ourselves. I couldn't calm down in a situation like that. It went on for a few minutes, then it hit me. All of a sudden, everything started spinning and I felt sick. The chanting turned to mumbling, and I couldn't read the damn words anymore. And I started sweating, panicking, and which caused the other patients to start panicking as well. And then, well, after that, I don't remember much. Next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital barracks. They told me I'd been burned severely by a flamethrower. I kept telling them, no, I was a part of a test. Went back and forth, arguing, till they just handed me money, like a lot of money, and insisted I survived a flamethrower, with a tone that made my hair stand. After that, I knew I should keep quiet. Then I actually noticed how much pain I was in. I was bandaged from head to toe, but it wasn't burns. I knew it wasn't. It was more like my skin just didn't want to stick to me anymore. These tests he was referring to were done a few years ago now, but I heard they have started again, as new evidence of metamorphosis that can affect non-mages positively has been discovered by a Varusian scientist, or scholar of sciences, as he would like to call himself, named Alan Klin, who was studying the Hatchfolk. These changes, as unsightly as they may seem, give them an edge, an advantage that I propose we should harness for ourselves. Now, what I believe made my peers' previous experiments fail was, number one, previous tests did not consider putting the test subjects in situations that would encourage the manifesting of such positive traits. What I mean is, the greater the stress of the situation that one is in, the greater the odds of beneficial mutations, as seen in the Hatchfolk. And perhaps it also lowers the chance of negative side effects. And second is microdosing the test subjects with mana over a long period of time, rather than injecting it all at once. By emulating how the Hatchfolks get their mana, ingesting it through food, and letting the body digest it slowly. This war is one of attrition. What wins us the war is not the next super weapon, as we've seen time and time again, but by improving our humble soldier. When their soldiers can only run 10 kilometers, let ours run 20. So, what are these changes the hatchfolk have? Well, it seems that amongst hatchfolk there is a wide variety of mutations that are hard to categorize, but mainly the eyes, ears, and nose have enlarged, giving them heightened senses, and their bodies have become smaller and head tilted upwards to be more rodent-like. When drawing them, especially their face, I took inspiration from a few places: the Dark Crystal, Sky Hornet on Twitter, and Garage, a very weird Japanese game. I think it still needs work to really hit that uncanny valley spot that I'm looking for, but it's on the right track. Their clothes wouldn't be anything special, just scavenged off of soldiers, but I wanted them to tailor their own clothes to fit their smaller frames. I think this is a very important detail to show that these are intelligent humans, not just crazed, mindless vermin. Same with the way I write them. I'm still trying to figure out their speech patterns and vocabulary and culture, which all have had enough time to grow and separate away from Ram and Varus's. A gem of an idea that came from the stream was to give the hatchfolk pet rats that they carry in little socks sewn onto their clothes, which is absolutely adorable, and I'm sure pet rats can have many uses to the hatchfolk, from sending messages to scouting for them. The particular one you see me drawing here we have lovingly named Tink. He will be one of the rats that accompany the stranger on his journey through the trenches. He is a bit older and has a passion for restoring armor. Typically, hatchfolk don't fix the armor before they sell it back to the countries at war, and it's not like Tink gets any more money from fixing it. In fact, the Ram inspectors discourage him from doing so. But he still sneakily fixes the armor himself, and sometimes even adds his own little patterns onto it. And when the inspectors come to check on the hull and don't notice he tinkered with it, it's a small but sweet victory for him. He one day wants to be a blacksmith employed in one of Ram's bunker cities so he can get away from the dangers of being a scavenger, even though normally such a thing is unheard of. Some elements of his character I still want to work on capturing better in his design, but overall I'm quite happy with how he looks. Now, to finish off the video, I'll just give you an overview of the hatchfolk's place in the world, which is quite an interesting one, I think. The hatchfolk, the denizens of the mazing trenches, living in countless winding self-dug tunnels and burrows, running under and connecting random points within the trenches and bunkers. They are already disorienting enough, but the hatchfolk's tunnels add another even more confusing and claustrophobic layer. I've heard plenty of things about them. The average soldier's attitude towards the rats is mixed. Some treat them as their name would imply, like rats, shooing them away and keeping their personal belongings close. But others try to be nice, maybe with pure intentions, or maybe to hope for some sort of favor in return. But something that most soldiers agree on is, do not upset the rats. You do not want to make an enemy out of the things in the walls. I didn't know how I was supposed to feel about them before meeting one myself, and I can't deny their relationship with the countries at war is a complicated one as well. They are scavengers that steal from the dead and sometimes even the living and sell it back to Ram and Varus, but they are also paid to make maps of the trenches or guide squads of soldiers through them, or to be scouts. But how can you know the opposing country didn't pay one of them more to give away your location? Or what if the rats orchestrated a firefight between two platoons just to reap the rewards? It's impossible to tell what their intentions are, but they are too valuable of an ally not to utilize. So both Ram and Varus, ever hesitant, try to keep good relations with them. Of course, this also encourages the rats to do their job, as these relations wouldn't last if their services were not reliable. So, there you go. I hope you enjoyed that video. The way I wrote this video was a bit of a mess, but I am a bit of a mess as well, so it fits. So, Tell me what you think about it in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Take care.
June 1st!